Hello, everyone, and welcome back for a new design system journey session with Thais. Hello, Thais. How are you?
Hey Matt, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm fine. This is a big week for all of us, I guess. But yeah, that's nice to meet you again and to be able to talk and to discuss around those topics and design systems and so on. So yeah, I'm really happy to be here with you.
Yes. Today we're gonna have our session a little bit shorter, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's the idea because there is this discussion design system in Twitter space. So and we want to join it after that. So yeah, let's keep it in 30 minutes.
Yeah. No, it was an interesting event that is happening actually. So there is this girl that works in the design system from gov.uk, Amy Hoop, I think that's how you pronounce her last name. And she on Twitter, she has a big following. So I imagine a lot of people that work with design systems also follow her. And one day she posted like, "Oh, I miss going to the office and talking about design systems like we used to," which is funny because it's kind of what you and I are doing, right? As
Yeah.
well. And we came to the same conclusion as she did, like, "Oh, we miss just getting together and brainstorming about the everyday struggles that we go through working with design systems." So she, yeah, the last time just got a really big reply on that. So she set up quickly a event on Eventbrite, and it was just a Zoom call.
Mm.
So that was really fun to participate. Were you there at that time?
No, I wasn't able to be there.
Yeah, but today it's happening again, so it might become something regular, and that means we can actually check it out after this call.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Nice.
Let's do that.
So let's take a look at my screen, shall we?
Yeah, let's go. So okay, so what's new? What's new to discuss?
Yeah, we are here. This is that image that I had come up with before for our own content around documentation. I don't know, I'm kind of happy with this image.
It is.
So this is our mind map of design systems taking place or taking shape. We actually started off over here, and we're creating these paths around topics that are involved in when you're defining your design system, working on it, or you just want to understand it really. And this is based on your experience as a developer and mine as a designer. So this is really cool. So I was thinking, we have lots of topics that we covered, and it's kind of like creating its own bubbles. But there are some common struggles that either covered by one of these topics, or just pops up in people's mind. And I have a couple of them listed here. Um, so I would like to just bring it up, and we can talk about it.
Yeah, sure.
So, for example, when we are trying to define what a design system is, we are having all these criteria, right? Like, well, I try to define in this image of it's a design kit, a component library, it's the content design of this, the documentation itself. It's about design tokens. It's the documentation that makes up the design system. So the question is, let me put it over here. Like this. Are we becoming too rigid in our definition of design systems?
Mm, that's a nice one. Um, okay, that's a good question. What's your opinion about this one?
Well, I guess it helps if we start between us agreeing what are we defining as a design system, right? So to me, it's
Sure.
clear that it's not just a component library, but it is part of it.
Yeah, component library is definitely a part of the design system, but it's not the design system at all.
Yeah, the design system is definitely made up of a lot of things. It's definitely a UI kit for designers,
Yeah.
so that can be done in regardless of the platform, but you do need like a matching kit for designers in their platform and what the developers have for the component.
Mhm.
So I'm assuming component library here is a bunch of coded components.
Mhm.
For also to make it simpler for us, I'm going to specify for web
Yeah.
because we can get into the topic of like mobile design system, but that's like definitely something else to talk about. And ultimately, just having these two also doesn't make a design system, I don't think. You do need the documentation. But before you can even start in your component library, you also need your brand style guide, I would say. So to me, these things make up a design system.
Do you think we don't need also some kind of I don't know, content guidelines or something like this that defines the tone and the global expression of your communication, your brand?
Well,
And
yes, definitely, but I would say that it starts to shape a more mature design system. I think, let's say if you are in a small startup
Mhm.
and you just need to get going with the UI of your product that you're just launching, you don't really have time to define the tone of voice yet. You just have to get going with designing interfaces, right? Yes, you're going to have to make decisions on what kind of words you're going to use in your button and what kind of message you're going to have in your pop-ups, how you're
Mhm.
going to come across in specific user flows. And that all should be guidelined or outlined in the content design.
Yeah.
So yes, eventually we can include in the design system, but I think you can start with a very basic design system by just having these four things. And if you only have these two things, I wouldn't say you have a design system yet. You have reusable elements, but you don't have a design
Yeah.
system.
Yeah. You have a set of themable components.
Themable components, yeah. So, but maybe even when I hear myself and I start thinking, I'm also making it too rigid, the definition of a design system, if I just say, yeah, you have to have documentation.
Mhm.
Like a design system definition can be more flexible if you just think, oh, I just have themable components. Therefore, that's a design system.
I guess the question behind this one is more what does the system refers to in a design system?
Mm,
What is a system?
yeah.
Because we could say that a set of themable components containing only a few reusable components with a, a theme kit allowing you to set different kind of colors and font faces, it should be seen as a design solution and a system of design solution. Is it a design system or not?
Right. Let me get the definition from the dictionary. Where is the system?
Yeah.
There is a lot of definitions for system. It's a noun, that's for sure. So let me put it here. And yes, there. It doesn't come up with the numbers. Let me see if I can just put it over here. One, and then any assembly, two. Oh, come on. There we go. Three. So this is here, and then unordered. That's three. And four coordinated. Yes, and five is any formulated. Let's see, and so these are all examples. That's handy.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because there are already things that are just, you know, hitting my mind like system of philosophy. Uh, isn't that what we are trying to bring on with the design system? A philosophy of using the design to communicate something, you know?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. A philosophy. Oh my god, I don't know how to spell philosophy. Here, give me 1 second. And so with an F, I get confused because of Portuguese. That's
Yeah,
my because in Portuguese it starts with an F. No, but in English it's philosophy. There you go. It's
yeah.
PHIP. There you go. I was going in the right direction. So a philosophy. I'm gonna put it a little bit bigger here because this is kind of interesting. Oh, so indeed, it's when we try to define a system is a combination of things or parts forming a complex and unitary whole. So yeah, like they give here an example of a railroad system. So just to have railroads on itself, they don't make the system yet. But when you get, like
Mm.
some joining together and coming into cities and connecting and changing rails to go to different cities, that's when it becomes combination of things. So in essence, that's also what the design system that we talk about with the component library comes down to. It's in the end a combination of things.
Yeah.
I like this definition. And it's also any assemblage or set of correlated members. System of currency, a system of shorthand characters. Huh. I don't think that really applies to us. I mean, it is correlated, right? Because all the components they are,
Yeah, there are boundaries between the different kind of elements, tokens, using behaviors of your components and so on. So yeah.
I was actually even going in a different direction. I was thinking like, how does a button relate to an input?
Hmm.
Correlate to the input, and actually you definitely want some correlation in terms of style. So you're not going to choose for like a rounded button and a completely squared input design wise, because that's just not going to feel like it's correlated,
Yeah.
like not part of the same system.
Yeah, I see your point. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Interesting. Um, it is also an ordered and comprehensive assemblage of facts, principles. This is where we are, I guess, like to
Yes.
some extent, right? It is principles, it is facts, doctrines, don't know, or the like in a particular field of knowledge or thought. System of philosophy. Oh, that's where you got philosophy from. Yeah,
You know,
I
one
mean,
interesting point with the doctrines in this
yeah,
one is that it directly referred to the question: are we starting to becoming too rigid with our definition of design systems? And this is exactly what doctrines are: a rigid definition of a system. So, yeah, it's interesting.
yeah. So yeah, you see as doctrine as something rigid, something it's a policy, right?
Yeah, that's it. In my mind, it's yeah, it's a way to help you to define big ways of thinking. You know.
Fair enough. And so this is kind of like what makes it even more, this question even more relevant, because we can try to be flexible, especially when you handle a design system that caters for a lot of users, like a lot of front enders and a lot of designers. And you can try to be like, design system, very broad sense of the word, or very broad aspects of your brand or your components. But I do think there's a valid argument around making it rigid, but it's a delicate line because you don't want to impose anything on anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to limit creativity. Basically, that's the biggest issue with design systems, right? Like, how do you have a system of reusable things and yet still allow for a completely different and innovative interface
Mm-mm.
but using your design system. But let's see, there's a fourth definition: a coordinated body of methods or scheme or plan of procedure, organizational scheme, a system of government. Yeah, we talk a lot about governance, right?
Yeah, that's it. So
So
yeah,
in a way, it does seem like it is a system of government, or I'm gonna say system of governance, but
yeah, it's
it is a scheme, it is a
yeah,
plan,
schema plan.
it is
The
procedure.
idea of coordinated things is probably important also.
Yeah. So it's also any formulated, regular, or special method or plan of procedure, system of marking, numbering, or measuring, winning
Hmm.
system. So yeah, I guess this kind of refers to like a system of numbering would be like the metric
Yeah, exactly.
system, right?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, and in a way, this is probably what our documentation is trying to address. Defining a way to share a common knowledge between different people so they could talk the same language when they're talking about how to use a button, how to use an input, how to use a specific token, and so on.
So yeah, the marking
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, interesting. And finally, it's also the do method or orderly manner of arrangement or procedure. There's no system in his work. That's a funny example. So if somebody goes about coding something without a system, you can say it's like it's not orderly. It's not done in an orderly manner. I think that's probably one of the issues when we're trying to build a design system is like how to define this order, right? Because we have all these components that make up the system,
Mhm.
but who comes first, right?
The chicken. The
Yeah,
chicken always come first.
exactly.
um, no, yeah, that's really interesting. I guess it totally depends on the I don't know the people that are working on. When we are doing our sessions with George and we start a new starter kit,
Mm.
George always loved to start with documentation. Just putting
Ah,
few color tokens and putting documentation page so you can see your tokens live and you can start to have something practical that you can manipulate, you can see. And this is not just a concept, this is something solid. And it's interesting because this is not my way. I do prefer to start crafting components and starting to make them to interact. But I'm not sure there is a right way to do so or a wrong way to do so. Um,
yeah, no, but it's valid point. And I do see the importance of starting with documentation. So I see why he starts it,
mhm.
because also you already embed that philosophy or
Yeah.
that, let me find the right word, that principle of workflow. Like you're trying to set an order to which
Mm.
your design system. So definitely the orderly matter here would be that you do, you define whatever you want to define and then document it, define, document it.
Mhm.
And hence, I would say if you go about doing it that way, building your design system like that, you are building a design system from the get-go. You're not just crafting components.
Mhm.
Because maybe if you go about your approach, you're going to end up with a component library, a beautiful
Yeah.
one, sure, but you're not going to have a design system yet.
Yeah. Yeah. We totally agree.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I do see that there is a valid or a point to be made about being rigid, and maybe it's a question about the fact that design system is a growing industry or a growing how can I call it? What's the word I'm looking for?
Mm.
It's not an industry, but it's a growing framework. It's a growing way
Yeah,
of thinking.
the field, well, yeah, field of
Field.
expertise.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I would say since it's a growing field of expertise, it's becoming more complex. And the more complex it becomes, the more rigid you have to make it. Right.
Probably at
Would you
first, yeah, because by how to say that, you can start a completely new field in an industry by doing anything in different ways and do not rationalize it. You have to be rigid at first just to be able to open it after that, and being less rigid in the future. But at first, yeah.
So let's say, yeah, I would correlate the two. I would say that yes, indeed, because it's growing and it's painful in the growth process. It's better to start off saying like, no, look, this is that, and
Hmm.
period. Let's not make too broad definitions of what a design system is. And I still have a problem with the name design system because it's much more than design.
Yeah, but it's yeah, but should we just understand the term design as for a UI, or it's a design in sense of creating something, crafting things?
Mm.
But crafting system, it's, it's awful. Design system,
Oh,
it's clean.
a system of crafting elements, of elements to craft.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fair enough. The word design in itself is quite broad as well.
Hmm.
It's funny, like if you try to search on Google for design systems, it often lands on like system design,
Yeah.
which has nothing to do with design system. It goes very like it goes really deep in engineering. I'm like, whoa, design
What
is
that?
yeah. So let me get the definition of design actually from the dictionary, because I think for me it's a funny relation with English because obviously we adopted the word design in Brazil as well, like because it became a field of study, graphic design, for
Yeah.
example. And so you just kind of understand it, but it's just like it's just a word.
Hmm.
And that's like the name of the course that I graduated in. It's product design, but it's not even a Portuguese word. Like, so what does it mean? And that's the name of the course that I made. So there are many definitions. Ah, I can't select multiple items at once. Here, design can be a verb used with an object or without an object. It can be a noun. So it is indeed to prepare the preliminary sketch or the plans of a work to be executed, especially to plan the form and the structure of. So yeah, when you're designing components, you are planning, you're sketching around.
Hmm.
So that answers the question. We need it comes from design. Design starts from design. You need to plan it before you build it.
So design come first. Okay.
Yes. To plan and fashion artistically or skillfully. Interesting. It is also to make drawings, preliminary sketches, or plans without the object. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. And it is to plan. Oh, to plan and fashion the form and structure of an object, work of art, decorative scheme, etc. I feel like they're missing a lot of design definitions in the IT world.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it includes everything it actually that we work on every day. But let's see.
Hmm.
Because like, if you think about service design and like you're not. actually sketching anything like manually, like you're not making drawings. You're actually just like planning and yeah, thinking about like how to define like the interactions of yeah. There's a lot of aspects of the social design that is
Mm.
interesting. Definitely not covered in this definition of design.
But isn't behind the idea of having a plan or a fashion of something?
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I guess it does cover it if we say it's just the preliminary
Yeah.
preparation of the plan. Yeah, I was just a little bit hung up with the word sketch
Mm.
because then I think about drawing. If you're sketching, but yeah, if you're sketching something, you're not necessarily drawing like drawing and then like this, you know,
Yeah.
not doing this. Sketching is also writing it down just by itself. Oh, so yes, it is a design is an outline, a sketch, a plan, um, as of the form and structure of a work of art, an edifice,
Mhm.
or machine to be executed or constructed. There are so many more. Like, why are they only limiting it to this? It is also an
we should
organizational
we should
structure.
design a dictionary, you know.
No, we need to update the definition of design. Or we need to start finding new words for this that we work with every
Mm.
day. So I think, yeah, it does help if we start to break down um, the words in which we are trying to, how can I say it, like the words that make up this industry that we're building.
Mm.
Because, yeah, if people come with questions like, are we being too rigid about defining design systems? Well, let's understand first, what does it mean to design? What does it mean? What does a system mean? And once you understand the meaning of those words, you can actually start building around the understanding like, is it too rigid or is it's not rigid enough, maybe?
Mm. Mm.
And looking at the definition of systems, I would say like because it needs to be in an orderly manner and it's made of principles, it's things that are correlated. I think we're not being rigid enough. I want to go around getting the
Yeah.
what you can and cannot do with my design system.
Yes, that's an interesting vision because yeah, I guess what I do like with design systems is that there are some kind of doctrines, you know. Yeah, this is just um a framework to help your mind to adapt to a given situation when you are trying to build an experience for your final users. You know, not only a UI, yeah, a global experience for your end users. And to do so, you do have to be all aligned, all in synchronized when you are working on it. Designers, developers, all front end teammates, and yeah, finally, design systems are kind of our bibles when you are trying to do so when we are designing this global experience. So yeah, maybe we have to be a little bit rigid on them because yeah, it's how it works.
Yeah. That also reminds me there is one more aspect that we could include as a definition of design system, which is like naming conventions.
Right.
Ah, just make sure I don't misspell this. It's with an S, isn't it? No, it's with a T.
It's the yeah.
Conventions. Um, because as you were saying, like it's an agreement, it's a contract between designers and developers.
Exactly.
It's a contract, and that is my way of also like trying to bring in the world of blockchain into the design system. It's contract.
Contract.
Oh, I'm gonna go on this again. I need to write an article about it between designers and developers. Okay, So that's going to be the title of my next articles. It's a contract between designers and developers. And so a contract is rigid. Yes, it's a little bit rigid. It has clauses in it, and we agree upon it.
Yeah.
We both sign it, right? So I think, yeah, like with this, it being a contract between designers and developers, well, and actually many other disciplines as well, content writers and QA engineers.
Mm.
Yeah, so let me actually redefine this. Instead of developers, we can just go engineers, just make it a little bit more broad, and product owners, product managers. So it's a contract between everybody to agree on a set of rules to go by. And it definitely helps when everybody's on the same page about, yeah, naming conventions. So we know what we're talking about,
Mm.
because a lot of, yeah, miscommunication can come from different understanding, right? If you are more used to in your platforms to know what a switch button is, and to you it's a certain thing, and to me it's something else because of the world that I come from, a design system is there to help that team actually have the Bible
Mm.
that they will follow, or better than Bible, let's say, to have the glossary that they
Yeah.
will follow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Really good.
I think this was an interesting topic of discussion.
Yeah. Uh, I did love it because it's always
Cool.
interesting to just, um, question what we are doing and why we are doing so. So yeah, it's always a good thing.
Cool. Well, it's already 2 minutes past 6. Let's go to the session that we have today.
Yeah, let's do that. So thank you very much for your time again, and see you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Bye bye.
Bye.